He wiped the counter. He burned the gloves. He thought he was careful. But the fingerprint wasn't just a mark, it was a confession. Altaville, Calaveras County, a small town folded into the quiet hills of Northern California. The streets felt frozen in another time, the kind of place where secrets stayed buried until they couldn't. On a gray April morning in 2019, a 911 call broke the stillness. Mrs. Arlene Dawson's trembling voice spilled through the line. Her husband, Richard, everyone called him Rick, wasn't breathing. She said there was blood. That spring, California was already on edge. Governor Gavin Newsom had declared an emergency over raging wildfires. County Chair Jack Garamendi and Sheriff Rick DeBasilio were watching the hills for flames. But no one knew that the real fire had started in a small antique shop downtown. When deputies arrived at Old Gold Relics, the shop the Dawsons had run for years, they found Rick behind the counter, his head split by the brass clock he once prized. The register was untouched. The door showed no signs of forced entry. Only the faint smell of something burnt lingered in the air. Detective Marla Jensen stood among the still-ticking clocks, her eyes tracing the scene. It felt staged, wiped clean, yet not quite perfect. In the trash behind the store, she found half-melted gloves, still warm. And on the counter, the forensic team lifted a faint fingerprint, part of one, almost erased, yet stubbornly there. Everyone knew Rick Dawson. Charming, helpful, controlling. He fixed clocks, lent money, and collected debts the way other men collected stamps. And one of those debts belonged to Ethan Price, a quiet 27-year-old mechanic struggling to pay him back. A week before the murder, neighbors overheard them arguing. Ethan left red-faced, muttering, "Some debts aren't worth paying." When detectives questioned him, Ethan looked frightened but steady. He said he'd been home watching TV with his girlfriend. He even let them check his car. Too calm, Jensen thought, as if he knew exactly what they wouldn't find. Then he said something strange. "I don't wear gloves," he told her. "I hate how they feel." The print from the counter came back days later, partial but distinct. It matched Ethan's mechanic's license. Still, Jensen hesitated. Coincidences happen, mistakes happen, but not twice. Because then they found another print on a sealed envelope in Rick's desk. It read, E. Price, Payment Agreement. The fingerprint on the back was perfect. Ethan's again. When confronted, Ethan broke down. He said he didn't mean to kill Rick. He said it was supposed to be an argument, not a fight. Rick had threatened to expose him over a debt, and Ethan had lost control. He said the brass clock fell, or maybe he swung it. He didn't remember. He wiped the counter, burned the gloves, and thought he'd erased everything. But what he didn't know was that after he burned the gloves, the soot clung to his bare hands. The one print he left behind, pressed into the counter, carried both oil and ash. Science read it like a diary. It placed him there after the fire, after the cleanup, after everything. The fingerprint didn't just identify him. It told the story he tried to hide. Ethan Price was sentenced to 28 years to life. Months passed. The shop stayed closed. Dust covered the windows, and silence settled where the clocks once sang. But Jensen couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't fit. Ethan's guilt felt real, but not complete. His fear wasn't of the crime, it was of someone else. Then came the twist. The lab retested the half-melted gloves. Inside, mixed with ash and fabric, They found traces of female DNA. It matched Lola Hayes, a former employee at Old Gold Relics. She'd left the job 3 months before Rick's death. People remembered her, shy, soft-spoken, and always closing the shop late with Rick after his wife went home. At first, no one thought much of it. Then Jensen discovered something chilling. Rick had been seeing Lola in secret. She was younger, lonely, and believed his promises to leave his wife and start a new life with her. But that night, Rick ended it. He told her it was over, that he was staying with Arlene. She begged him to reconsider. He laughed. Something inside her cracked. The brass clock had been a gift from her. Now it became her weapon. One strike, one gasp, and then silence. She panicked. She wiped what she could, burned the gloves, and found Ethan's envelope on the desk. His name, his print, his perfect alibi. In her shock, she pressed the paper against the counter, smudging it with a hint of soot, framing him without meaning to. When Jensen found her in Modesto months later, Lola didn't fight. She wept. She said she hadn't meant to kill him, only to make him listen. She had no plan, no escape, just heartbreak. She whispered, "He said I was just a mistake. I wanted to show him I wasn't." The court found her guilty of manslaughter, not murder. Ethan was released, but the damage never left him. Neither of them spoke again. Old Gold Relics was never reopened. Arlene moved away. The clocks inside stopped ticking, their hands forever frozen at 9:47. The moment a promise turned into tragedy. Altaville went back to its quiet rhythm. But some nights when the wind slid down from the Sierra foothills, locals swore they could still hear the fate ticking from behind the boarded doors, a reminder that love, when it breaks, can burn hotter than any fire. If you like this story, like and comment. For more chilling crime stories, subscribe to True Shadows. For real, every crime leaves a trace, and sometimes the smallest mark is the one that speaks the loudest.